And I know we have a lot of people who would like some coaching today. So, in honor of this, I'm going to get through this mindset cycle at a very good pace. We're just going to get through it in a decent pace, and then we're going to move forward. I'm going to minimize our screens. So today, as we're thinking about mindset cycles, this is something that not only I think is applicable to you as this amazing CEO of your business, but I also think it's really applicable as you are all in this round of life coaches. If you want to start to use this with your clients, Teresia is also jumping in. Hey, girl, it's good to see you. Um, so today we're going to be talking about mindset cycles, and this is just something that I kind of created and you can use with your clients as well. So feel free, again, everything that I give you, feel free to take and use with all of your people as well. So one of the things that you guys might be noticing is that business is a roller coaster at times. And I want to talk to you about how to ride that roller coaster in a way that feels a little bit more manageable as your self concepts shift over and over and over and over again. The next thing that we're going to do is we're going to take all of the drama that our brain gives us and make it into fun data and talk about how to track trends that your brain typically goes to, see what kind of past things keep coming up, and how to be proactive about it. Second, thirdly, that's the number. We're going to talk about how you want to think and feel and make a preemptive plan for how you actually want to feel if similar thoughts and feelings come up in the future. Last but not least, we're going to apply and we'll talk about how to track low and low and high value or energy cycles to create this plan for yourself. So this is just an overview, but it's my favorite way to think about your mind and what we do as coaches. And it really reviews how your subconscious works. And you can change the word subconscious to primitive brain, um, lower brain, used many terms. But in my scientifically unscientific opinion, I think this simplifies things in a really easy way to see that, okay, business is a circumstance that is coming at you super fast. And what happens is you have a self concept, which as coaches, we all know is within our control. But that self concept is your filter for the world. When you have this filter, it generalizes, it deletes, and distorts really important information about the world, in this case, your business. And it does that from meta programs, how you think about yourself, attitudes, the way that you feel towards certain things, and preferences to other things, your memories, your decisions, your values, and your beliefs are all rooted in your subconscious. So we want to understand how that self concept has formed, build awareness around it by examining the thoughts that you're having, the feelings, the actions, and the results that you're creating. So that's what we're doing is we're going to just take a compassionate lens and we're going to have awareness first off, compassionately question, and then choose intentionally what you want to create. Now, the way I want you to think about this, now that you have all of the aspects of your offer, now that you have all of the tools up until there's one more about goal setting that we're going to talk about next week, your business is launched with all the systems into the world. And I want you to know that can cause feelings. It can cause wonderful feelings and it can cause some not so wonderful feelings. So I just want to give you a warning ahead of time. You might have already experienced a lot of this, that there are potential rivers of misery ahead as you journey through your business. The way that I think about the river of misery is that currently your business right now, you've already probably crossed some like ups and downs in your business. And let's say you're currently here at your business. You're on one side of your self concept, whether you feel like you're at level 4, level 14, this is where you are now. And in order to get to level 5 or 15, we need to go through an emotional, turbulent struggle. That lovely self concept of yours doesn't want to change. But in order for you to go from level 4 or 14 to level 5 or 15, what happens is we are going to break down everything that you felt about yourself and grow into this next version of yourself. It can be extremely uncomfortable, as we all know, as we've all up leveled. And I want to let you know that is normal. And here's how we're going to make it feel even better. Sharon.
So I have a question. It's come up for me and it came up with client this weekend is sometimes we look at the intentional thoughts and then we look at the unintentional thoughts and the intentional thoughts. And it's kind of like scarcity and abundance. But sometimes you're not ready to go from you kind of, instead of believing those intentional thoughts, you keep going back to your original story of the unintentional thoughts or the scarcity. So I know there's like a middle ground to how to get, there's like a middle between scarcity and abundance to kind of go there first before you actually start believing that more intentional or bigger belief about yourself. So can you cover that a little bit with what you were just talking about here?
Oh, you know I can. And I feel like I've paid you to do this because it's literally what we're talking about today is the empowered thoughts are what I like to think of as the bridge into the river of misery. So the way that I think about it as let's say you've got a thought. And I'll give you some examples actually because I've written them down, but just off the top of my head. Let's say you have a thought that nothing is working and you at the level 4 version of you and you want to get to everything is working. Probably not from scarcity to abundance, just like what Sharon was saying. That's a really great way to think about it. So instead of thinking everything is working, a lot of times when that happens, it kind of comes back to, I feel like a lot of times it feels sarcastic to me when I see that version of me that, sorry, I was getting a call. When I see that version of me that is like everything is working. And it reminds me of the way I was running a marathon and I started out running and I had to get from this thought, like, I hate running, visceral, like, hate running. And I kept thinking, oh, I love running. I was like, running is great. Running is fun. And I'm like, I tried to get myself to think that it just made it so much worse, y'all. It was literally like I still like berating myself over and over and over again. So I had to go to a bridge thought of I like to move my body. It's like there are some things that I do like about running. I like feeling the wind on my face. I like getting to different benchmarks and seeing that I'm growing. So that was my bridge, middle, or empowered thought that could then get me to the point where I was like, I love running and training for a marathon. Still don't love running, but I did actually love training for a marathon because it showed me how I could push myself within your business. If you have a thought that my business isn't working, trying to get to everything is working is going to be difficult. So sometimes you do have to find those bridge thoughts into something more believable. For instance, I could think, okay, instead of everything is working, some things are working, some things aren't working, but I'm going to solve them and I'm going to figure it out. I'm going to figure out how to make it even better. I'm going to use what I've identified as things that aren't working, and I'm going to utilize that to move forward. So those are things that we would put, and you'll see. I was like, I feel like I'm like talking a lot with my hands. I'm showing you the diagram you're about to see. But that's the way that I like to neutralize it and then move forward into that more abundant place. Tammy, yes, neutralize thoughts before getting into abundance. Thinking about like, okay, and then also like questioning, where did this thought come from? Any questions, Sharon? That was a really good point to bring up. And you guys are definitely going to encounter this with your clients. So, really good question.
I think that, well, I think it's just going to continue to take practice. So I went through, yeah, we'll get into the low and high energy cycles and we can kind of see how we feel after that.
Amazing. So, let's just take a gander at what my hands were playing with in the air. So, just to remind you that like the journey that we go on as coaches is truly transforming someone's self-concept. It is changing who they are at a neurological level. They are changing their beliefs, and becoming a business owner is changing you as a person. right now, you are changing your self-concept to your version of CEO that you are right now, to the six-figure systems self-concept version of you. And when your brain levels up, and Teresia, I see your hand. I'm going to come back to you in just a second. What happens is, like we talked about before, there are neuroceptors, literal cells in your brain that are freed for change. So, what we want to do is we want to go back and see how to protect our brain, or how we can overcome the neuroceptors that we talked about, like at the very beginning, to regulate ourselves as we build our businesses. Teresia, did you have I saw your hand and then it went away. You might not have meant to raise your hand. And so I'm pulling up the video.
Yeah, sorry, it's okay. I just wanted to comment on something that based on what you were sharing before, but it can wait until the
Yes.
end. Not that
Oh,
important.
I was like, no, no, go ahead.
Oh, I just wanted to say, Sharon, that a lot of times I find that we're always looking to get to where we want to be in terms of our thinking. And I also appreciate the bridge thoughts, Megan, that you offered. But sometimes I just want to start with, even with myself, like the thoughts that are being currently offered to myself, that I offer myself readily, these sort of thoughts that are not helping me get to where I need to be, like questioning their validity and truth. Like for me, sometimes it's hard to see my future self and feel like my future self. Then I get the concept of bridge thoughts, but there's an underlying assumption when you think what you think that those thoughts themselves are true. And I think that's bullshit. And I like to call myself on bullshit. So a lot of the times it looks like I have a thought and then I have another thing in my mind telling me, yeah, but no, there's just like all this evidence where that's not true. So stop. And I feel I can readily access that.
The like bullshit detector version of you.
Yeah. It's
I
like that like to me, I can, like, if you really like, if I, like I put on weight and I call myself ugly and I'm like, no, the last week you kind of thought you were cute. So what's up with that?
I do think that, like, I think that sometimes there's like need for like the compassionate, like kind version of ourselves that's like, hey, it's like, well, tell me why you think that. There are other times when I'm like, hey, what in the world, brain? Please stop
Yeah.
thinking that. Like, what is happening? Okay, chill out, calm down. And I agree, like that bullshit detector version of you. I'm like, okay, brain, just no, we're not gonna go there. Like, what is happening? And it was, I actually, for an example of that, like Teresia, such a good point. Like, sometimes we need to really go deep and compassionately question it. The other, literally, I was getting coached like yesterday, and I had this thought. I have it every time I do a webinar. I'm like, do systems even help people? Like, what is, and I was like, okay, wait, okay. Because I've been literally, I've been able to do this so many times that I was just like, oh, brain, it's like we're doing this again. I was like, no, we're just not going to go there. And I was able to get out of it so much faster once you practice that skill over and over and over again. And it just keeps getting easier and easier. And then it'll get easier and easier with like your old self concept. You'll just be able to know exactly, like, my thoughts, nothing is working, it's not going fast enough. I can call myself out on those a lot faster. That's what this little tool is really help us do. And then there's going to be new stuff that comes up that's like random. And you're like, oh, we have to learn this again at the higher level. I'll explain what I mean by that. But really, really good point, Teresia. Because sometimes it can be like really nice and compassionate and really like, oh, we have to talk to our past self. And there is a huge place for that. I'm not mocking that at all. It's just like, adding levity to, you know, our past selves. And there's also the part of us that needs to be like, hey, like, come on, we know this. Hey, old me, get it together. Let's go. It's a really good point. Okay, so back to my favorite, the polyvagal theory. When the neuroceptors are looking for threats, a lot of times what happens is we find like your brain is just kind of going to be on a constant threat search throughout like running your entire business. I'm going to talk about it tonight, like where it's like, if you can't get into like a more ventral vagal phase, if you maybe aren't clear about your offer, if you're feeling all this about an offer, what happens is you can even get to the point where you shut down. And so our goal is always to deactivate. I think I gave you guys some deactivation protocols last week, but we can talk about that a little bit more, because when we are regulating our nervous system, we need to self-regulate and co-regulate. Self-regulating meaning just doing things to calm your nervous system, meditation, exercise, rest, self-coaching. Coaching myself truly has rocked my world, and it gets me into a good place like every time. Might not be the same case for you guys, but like I found that when I am self-coaching, and that's why I recommend doing it on the daily, it really does help me to refocus and stay within my future self. The other thing is we want to co-regulate. You're in this group for a reason. I truly think the world brought us together for this like sole purpose within this mastermind. And I want us to be your support crew. I want you to lean on me, get coached, vent. We can all bolster each other up to make us see each other in a new and helped light. So within your life, you're going to get these feelings of activation. And I like to think about them as triggers. Triggers is a word that's used for a lot of things. I just want to give you my definition of a trigger is when you feel activated. It could be a small activation or a very large activation. And I think that that comes from either current or past, either I don't want to use the word trauma because it's not necessarily trauma, but just deep changes for you that either happened in the past or currently. And just so you know, that again, the model is an oversimplified version of the brain. You're not always in one cycle the whole time. Let's say you're in a low value or a low energy cycle, you still have moments of high energy or value. But we want to just start to track what causes you to shift from cycle to cycle. And if we can know what the circumstance is that triggers you, or your thoughts, or your feelings, or your actions, or your results, what's going to happen is we can start to prevent it. So, one of the reasons why I talk to you about self-coaching or just even coaching that you've gotten on these calls, I am knowing pieces of your self-concept. You are getting to know yourself as a coach, probably an even deeper level. And you're going to notice what sends you into a struggle state. Remember, and I said it in all caps, a low value cycle is never a no value cycle. Your business is still working always, even when you're not feeling it. And I want to offer, if you can remember times when you were in a quote unquote low value cycle, you might look back at your reels and be like, you know what? That was actually pretty good. You might have not thought it at the time, but you'll be like, oh, that wasn't horrible. Like I actually did fine. And that's another reason why reflection is such a great piece of this. The other piece is that you want to think about is like, okay, now that I'm aware of what a low value or a low energy cycle could be, what we want to do is we want to think about like, okay, how do I get out of funks? How have I been able to get out of funks in the past? When my business was doing the best, as far as like a high value cycle, what was my model then? If I signed a client, let's figure out why. So I actually combined the low and empowering cycle. These will be with the same circumstance. So if you look at number one for the circumstance and number one for the low and the empowering, you see that not hitting the goal for the wait list is a circumstance that had the opportunity to trigger me into a low value cycle. So my initial unintentional thought is what I put in the low value cycle. So my thought for that first circumstance, so I numbered it 1-1, was this thought, nothing is working. If I didn't hit my goal for the wait list, and I think when I did this, I had got like 2 people on my wait list. And I had this thought, nothing is working. And I felt helpless. So what I did is I catastrophized about the whole program, fixate on people who watch the wheels, gave up, reels, sorry, not wheels. And you could list even more things, but I noticed when you can catch yourself at different points in different energy cycles, but you can be like, oh, if I am fixating on people who are watching my reels, if I am looking for my likes, if I'm looking for my followers, might be a thought that I need to examine here. And what happened is from that thought, nothing is working, I undermined my ability to make it work for the whole launch and undermined my ability to compel more people to sign up for future waitlists. So I still, in my business, am not going to hit my goal for the waitlist that I have. I am not going to hit many goals in my business, right? That's just a piece of it. It's like life. So instead of whenever I go through a situation where I don't hit the goal that I have, instead of making that dictate my ability to run my business, the result that I want instead, that I get to think about instead is I'm like, I'm not going to make my wait list or anything dictate my ability to sell my group. And in parentheses, you could say, like, make my business successful. There is no one thing that will make or break my business. I get to be in control. And the empowering cycle goes from, I think what creates a lot of scarcity is when we're focusing on the things that are outside of our control. I can't control how many people sign up for the wait list. I can't control how many people sign up for my program. Well, we can monitor and change those things, but I can't change the past. So what I want to do is I want to think about, for the future of my business, there are going to be times when I have one person sign up and I'm expecting 50. There are going to be times when I am having goals and I make nothing. And I want to think about what I want to do in those circumstances instead. And so from the result, you can either go to the thought, the feeling, or the action line. And then what I do here is I'm like, what are the actions I would need to take to keep going and not make this wait list dictate my ability to sell my group? I would maybe not even include a wait list on this launch. I'm like not even including it as a part of my eval. I'm going to think about including it in future launches when I have more time to plan. This was my first launch ever of my group. And I literally like decided I was doing business coaching in August, launched in September. It was like, boom. And I'm like, okay, in the future, if I don't hit my goals, I'm going to maybe include it when I have more time to plan, but I'm not going to make it make or break this launch. And that means including when it says not even including a wait list on this launch, like not including it in my plan for this launch. I'm like, okay, yep, that's done, moving forward. And think about other ways I can grow my audience and get my audience to engage. So I was like, in my launch, this is what I want to do. And my feeling was confident and determined instead of helpless. So instead of feeling helpless, I was like, you know what? I want to feel determined. And when I have the thought nothing is working, I feel unsafe. It feels scary. And you're all going to have this thought in your business at some point. But I had to think to myself, I create safety for myself. And even if everything goes to shit, I'm going to have my own back and I won't let myself fail to the point of harm. And so again, long thought, feel free to add more than one thought, but those were one of the things that like helped me to keep going in a more empowered way, even when I didn't hit my goal for the wait list. So this was more so a reflection that I did. You might be having to do this in real time. You might be thinking about this when you do your self-coaching. But these are things that you want to start to keep track of. So when I know that when I don't hit my goals and when I have a different number of people expected sign up, my brain freaks out. And I want to make sure that I create a positive momentum from those negative thoughts. From there, we also want to, oh, sorry, I'm going back. Tammy said, it's so interesting. I touch the outcome to my value in hearing this. Yes. Oh, yeah. And we're all going to do it. We are told in society that your results and your quote unquote success, whether that be related to money and people and influence, all these things, those are things that determine your self-worth. And the hardest thing when you're at this stage in your business is taking your self-worth as much as you can out of it and being like, this isn't about me. I'm not going to make this mean something about myself. And I'm going to just choose to move forward with love for myself and love for others, which is important. So the other things that I'm so glad Terry said so good in the chat. So the last thing that I want to touch on is there are going to be moments in your business when you feel a high. You're like, oh my gosh, I am feeling good. Like this is, and you can think about it as high value, high energy. Someone said in the last round they didn't love that I said high value because they were like, we're always valuable. And I'm like, I'm with that. So you can go with high energy cycles if you wish. But within that, the high value or high energy cycle, if I hit my goal for a webinar, my brain's like, I am joyful. This is great. And so thinking about the thoughts, I'm like, okay, if I hit my goal for the webinar, what was my thought then? I'm like, oh, my thought is people want this. And that is a thought I can use for everything. And I feel really grounded. And so what do? I share more about the webinar when I hit my goal. I fixate on building relationships instead of fixating on social media stats. I'm like, that's really interesting. I know I need to do, whenever I'm noticing some of this, I want to bring in more of this. And what happens is I compel other people to want this and sign up. I also included this example in here. I have this circumstance, one person signed up for the program. It put me in a low value cycle. Notice that also in a high value cycle at a different stage in my business, I had a thought, someone signing up for the program, and I was like, this is the best thing that's ever happened to me. Like I signed a client and I'm like, oh my God. And I was like, what was my thought then? And I was like, I can't wait to help them. And so what did I do is I felt excited and I celebrated current clients, built a relationship with a new client, got courage to do things out of my comfort zone, and I helped more people to sign up for this program. So if I take that actually was a circumstance for me, and I go back to the empowering cycle, I can take a look at the same circumstance. It's the same. And I can think about, okay, if one person signed up to the program, I'm like, okay, how could I make this work for this round and improve future rounds? What I want to do is let's say one person signed up for my group. I had to make a plan for that. I was like, if one person signs up for my mastermind, what am I going to do? And I would offer them one-on-one coaching at the same price and just go with it. I also I made a decision at this point in my business. It was mid-September and I'd had one person say that they were going to sign up and they hadn't yet. And I was like, wow. And I had been launching for 3 weeks, which I would never suggest to you. I would highly recommend only launching for a week, actually having an open cart for 5 days. But what happened is I was like, okay, if it's this one, doing self-coaching, or I'm going to do one-on-one coaching. If it's 2 people, I'm going to deliver it to these 2 people and it's going to be great. And what I would do is I evaluated, I self-coached, I remind myself that I was safe. I did my content in advance, which was very helpful. I thought about the 2 people I was delivering to, and I was like, even if it's just 2 people, this is a really positive difference in the world. And coming back to Tammy's point, the not making it mean anything about me or the future of my business and getting coached. And I'm like, I'm so glad I get to help people help others. I love myself and I'm going to have my own back through this. And I could have had the thought, I can't wait to help them. So yes, literally, like, and Tammy has mentioned this a couple of times, like, or everyone has talked about this, but like when you focus on somebody else, it really does help you get right into sufficiency and being like, okay, yes, I'm feeling scared, but there's someone who's feeling way more scared. And this is a thought that I have, but they're struggling way more than I did at this point. And I want to make sure that like I can put myself aside and help them too. Sharon said, take away from my webinar material that might be helpful to everyone, separates your identity from your results. Okay, so I think that Sharon is saying that in her webinar, she has a quote, which I love. She said, I'll be a failure to I define my worth, and we could add on to there, I'm never going to define myself as a failure. I just am choosing that now. So good, Sharon. So what I want you to do is I want you to create a support plan for yourself. Doesn't have to be now, but anytime you're in like a funk or anytime you're in like a high value cycle and you have some time, take this and make your future plan. I want you to think about, okay, what are all the things, and we're going to talk next week about the obstacles and strategies so we can list some thoughts you might even know that you're going to have in advance. And you can think about all these circumstances that we can strategically see that will be obstacles in the future, and any positive circumstances that have helped you in the past, bring them, write them down, and put the unintentional and limiting thoughts, feeling, and actions you would have based on the circumstance, and choose the intentional, empowering feelings, thoughts, and actions that you would want to generate on purpose. So this is kind of like a way that you can think about the support plan as interrupting your future results. So we can have negative thoughts. We have 60 to 90,000 thoughts a day. Nothing has gone wrong. You will have negative thoughts as you build your business, and it's okay. However, one of the things that you can do is you can pause your model. You could notice, okay, I'm feeling very triggered. If I've been marketing for a month, no one has paid. You can have the option to have a thought, I'm a failure and this will never be successful. I went 7 months of nobody buying, and I had this thought a lot. And I felt a lot of shame. But instead of thinking that, the thing that kept me going for, God, 210 days of nobody booking a call and posting every day, I kept thinking, I'm really glad I put myself out there. Here's something I could change. Here's something I can make even better this month. And I felt curious instead of shame. Being like, okay, I'm safe. I'm just saving up and we're going to figure this out. Another thing that can be super triggering is if someone asks for a refund or stops. I had clients stop in this past couple weeks, and it was interesting. Like, it's been a while since it happened. And I was like, I was like, I had the option even of my, like, this is from like my 2021 self and 2020 self, that was like, this is horrible. And more so now, instead of I'm never going to hit my annual goal, it was like, oh my God, I think I hurt them. I hope everything's okay. And I felt terrified. It's always my go-to. And the empowering thought, even again, like I've told you, I have made like already $60,000 this year. And I had to quell my nervous system and be like, hey, I'm okay right now. We're actually good. But we need to focus on bringing more other people. Wow. It's time to focus on bringing in more people now. And it helps me to feel determined even when I feel things like fear. So I have shown here, you are the captain now of that like movie that came out a couple of days ago. And not a couple of days, years ago. But just to remind you that like we're automatically gonna go here. Your subconscious primitive brain always wants to go here to try and protect you. And if you notice yourself feeling victim-y, villainy, or hero-y, we're just gonna notice that we are in a little bit of an insufficient kind of mindset. We're feeling a little scarce. No big deal. Nothing's gone wrong. Our brain is just braining. And I've talked to friends who have now made millions of dollars and their brains still go there. So fun fact, it is a part of life. Nothing has gone wrong. And we just want to build awareness for it and be like, okay, how instead of can I get into this like savior complex, like I'm whatever we're experiencing, and coach myself? How can, instead of feeling like the villain, that there are villains in our life, how can we be like, oh, this is just challenging me to grow? And how, instead of feeling like a victim of a circumstance, like, man, people have it better than me, it's like, yep, and I'm going to use it to create an awesome coaching program because of it, because I'm going to figure it out. And I just had here that the world is growing because of you. It can feel so easy to lose sight of the important work that you're doing every single day. And I just want to give a little perspective before we start coaching that you guys are making such a fucking positive difference in the world. Lives are changing because you're putting yourself out there. And I'm so fucking proud of you for putting yourself through these rivers of misery. And I am going to be the rower, and I'm going to help you through whatever you're feeling in this river. And like, not the rower, the person who's yelling row. Like, you know what I'm talking about? Like in the like things. Oh, it's the thing. It's a sport, the rowing sport. And there's a guy or a girl or human at the front that's like, row, you can do it. That is my job. That is why I'm your coach. And I'm pretty good at cheering people on when they're not feeling it. So bring me all of your stuff and we are going to get through this together. You are not alone. You're doing fucking great work. And we're just going to keep it coming. So with that being said, I think it was Anise, Sharon, then Jess. And if anyone else wants coaching, raise your hand. And Tammy. It's like I'm just putting down the order. Start us with a win, Anise, and then let's get
By the way,
into it.
Megan, it's a Cox.
You have a fox?
No, love, it's a Cox. The guy who shouts, row, row, he's a Cox, C-O-X. But I also have a fox, yes, but not on
I
me.
literally thought your dog was a fox, and you're like, it's a fox. And I was like, wait, that's so cool.
No, I don't like foxes, neither does he. My
Okay.
win.
Got it.
Yeah. So I had a really good chat with one of my clients who is a founder, and she's about 3.5 years into her business, and she wants me to help with her team. So I'm so
Anise,
excited. I know. It's fucking
this is
exciting.
awesome.
I know. Really exciting. And she
Oh
loves
my
me.
God, this is awesome.
I know. It's gonna be really good. So I'm really excited by that. And I had a consult on Friday, which was good as well.
Fuck yes.
Yeah.
Sorry, I was writing fuck. I was like, had a really good.
Pretty good. Yeah. So they are. Yeah, it was a good week. It was a good week last week. Well,
Amazing.
most weeks are good, but sometimes
All
they're-
the weeks are good.
Yeah.
Now,
So
you mentioned that you had thoughts about your offer, and I
yeah.
don't know if you shared that with me just yet. So I think that you put it up on the screen last time, and the consult that you had.
Yeah. So I think so basically, I mean, he might not necessarily be my ideal client. Okay, so that's a start. So I'm not going to get myself in too much of a twizz. But once I'd got over the feelings and the thoughts of being a fucking loser and why didn't I get him and all that bollocks, right? Got myself through all that, talked it out. I then went, okay, what's the gold? And the gold is, okay, so maybe I wasn't clear enough with what the impact will be, what the return on investment is. This is gold because he's not going to be the only one. So how can I make this work for me? So I was really pleased with that kind of like relatively quick turnaround on, rather than beating myself up, let's look at the gold.
Hashtag empowered cycle. Let's go.
Yeah, exactly. Roundabout. Yeah, so what he wants, and I don't think this is necessary, it kind of goes against the grain as a kind of organic coach. And I'm intrigued about your perception when you do your 6 months with your one-to-ones.
Mhm.
Because I know obviously when in a group like us, it's a hybrid of teaching and coaching. But for my program, it was going to be just coaching with obviously the pillars. So it feels a bit counterintuitive. He wants structure. He wants week by week, what we're going to do. Right.
Uh-huh.
And I was like, well, that's really, yes, I can understand why you're asking that, but obviously we can have things in the diary, as it were, but actually it will always be, what do you need coaching on today? Because there'll be things that come up in life. But when I looked at it, I realized that it's not a bad thing for me to have a structure, like, the first 4 weeks. So it was quite useful to look at it, because I had to break down what does coaching full stop for any of us, what does it actually give them week on, right? So we might not say week one, we're going to look at your, we're going to definitely look at your values and who are you and what's your thought process and, structured. But in a way, that's what our coaching does. So it was quite useful to actually go underneath what does coaching do. So that was good. So I've got there.
Okay. Also remind me of your new pillars.
My pillars are the same, Lovey. They are decision making, procrastination. So that's the blue, and then the green is decision make.
Stress.
Stress and burnout, and people skills, stroke communication.
Awesome. Okay.
Yeah. Stress management and burnout is like 1.
Gotcha.
Yeah, that's fine. So it's just 4.
Okay. So
and he was 6 out of 10 procrastination, 6 out of 10 for people skills and communication. He wants to change from his authoritative leadership skill to much more collaborative. Were like 8, 9 out of 10 on the other 2. So that's what I mean by he wasn't necessarily an ideal client, because he had like quite good structure in there already. And then the way I looked at it was I say, okay, so you're six out of 10. So there's 40% that you're not good at. So in 6 months' time, what kind of person you're going to be if you're changing your people skills and your communication and your leadership skill? What's it going to look like? I said, what's the impact on you and what's the impact on your business? So I'm quite liking that differential.
Mm-hmm.
I get very different answers. So I felt like the consult, my evaluation is positive. But I think there's still a lot of work. Well, no, not a lot. There's still work for me to do with that painting that vision. He's like, it all sounds great, but I can't, for me, I need to have a really good feel of the return on investment for me and my business and maybe my team that I bring on. 6 months is a lot of money. What am I going to get from this? I need more. He says, you need to make me visualize this. And I was like,
Mm-hmm.
okay. So,
So you had a thought about it, which was all good.
And also the other thing I also realized is that I need to really be generous with my time at the end of like the consults, like
Yes.
doing it, you tag it on at the end and you're a bit tired and he done a lot of talking and I done a lot of talking and it's like, you've lost the momentum, you lost the energy, you're like, yeah, so, and it just felt a little flat. So definitely aware of the energy in that. But maybe I've missed the point and I probably need to go back and look at your work, but
Well,
go on, sorry, go on, please. Sorry, I've done a lot of talking.
no, this is great. So it's like, I think that I'm hearing like just 3 separate things.
Yeah.
The first thing is more of just like an observation. I'm really proud of you for like using these things for you and thinking about like what is the impact and the ROI. I think the reason why this was a question from somebody could be, I think you solved it was like, okay, so it's like I'm identifying that this is a need and I feel like this is the answer. I agree. I think that when people are like, I need to feel really good on my investment and they might not be feeling really good, it just means that, okay, what could I do to make them feel even better about investing? Now, you said 6 months from now, what's the impact on your business? This is just more of a clarification question. When you did the consult, you went through and you started each of these. You asked him where he was at from a scale of 1 to 10.
Yeah.
Then you went in and you asked him where he wanted to be 6 months from now.
Yeah.
Then for decision making, you were like, okay, you're an 8.
Mm-hmm.
Why are you an 8? What would you like it to be 6 months from now? What would make it a 10? And there's an opportunity here. Even when this is for everybody, when people are starting with high numbers, I don't want you to get in your head that they might not need this. And I think that was an option. Like you said that you felt a little funky about it because you're like, he doesn't really need this. Or you said something like to that effect. You were like, well, I don't know if he's an ideal client because he was 8s in a couple and he was only a 6. And so I think that there was a thought there that shook you a little and then shifted the rest of the consult from that point. What do you think about that?
Yes, potentially. But actually, what was really interesting is the data that came out of that 20%. So say he was at the decision making. So say he was like, he said, oh, I'm really good at that. I'm an 8. I was like, oh, that's okay. 8's good. So you've got a 20% lag here. So what would the 20% look like? And he was like, well, actually, when I'm a bit shitty with decision making, it does make a massive difference on the revenue. So I was like, okay, so actually that's so
Wait, keep going with what did you say then? I think this is awesome. Then what? Did you move on to the next category or because I want you to paint the vision there.
Oh, okay.
Yes, that was like,
yes, okay, maybe I'm, yeah, and then I've lost momentum. So go on. So I could say, so if I was to really help you with the decision making, taking you from 8 to a 10, you could really see, and then you'd have more money, the business would have more money, you'd be feeling how much. People are asking all these questions. I'm gonna have to answer all these questions in the chat later, but because Teresa just asked me a question in time. So okay, that's a really good point. Thank you. So in the momentum of when he's in that decision making funk, then paint the picture, because I'm also in in that moment of saying, that's great. I can see you've already got a good structure. I can give you this, and I can give you this, and I can give you this, and you'll
Yes.
feel this, and you'll feel this, and you'll feel this.
So with exactly. And so it's like, so then you can be like, it's like, I want you to picture how much and get numbers. It's like, be like, like how many decisions do you think you make on average? If I could help you, if it seems like, so you're going to have different clients and maybe they're not a great fit for you, but still a good learning experience to be able to like talk to these founders and be like, like, what would it look like if you were 20% faster with your decision making? What would it look like this? How much money do you think that you're leaving on the table because you're not able to implement these decisions? How much faster do you think you would be able to get? I don't know if they're like a product, but it's like, how much faster do you think you would be able to get to the outcome that you want to get to? And getting really clear on their goals and being like, I think that decision making is a critical piece of every business owner's goal. If I can shape this up for you, that's the first, like, I want to, when we work together over the 6 months, I want your decision making by August to be so sharp that it completely turns your second and third quarter around and you create and exceed your revenue goal for this year. How does that sound for you? And say that just with decision making.
Yeah.
What is coming up from you when I said that?
Yeah, you're much more kind of like, you're asking questions that are much more proby than I did, and giving them really kind of tangible things that they can get quite excited by, like, okay, yeah, so if I come 6 months, within a month or within 2 months of working with me, you'll already be seeing this, and this. Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah.
It's like, and it's like,
Uh,
so it's like the effective decision making, the alternative. And I think that your process, if I'm correct, is like something about productivity. There's one of them has productivity in there. I remember that. So it's like, I want you to imagine the return on investment if your productivity increased by 20%.
mm,
What about 30%? When you
mm,
work with me, you're going to define what decision making means to you. And I can track it and I know it's going to get better every single week when we work together. That's what happens when you work with me. We get shit done. I know that you will get better at decision making because I track it every, I was like, I always use my old client, but I'm like, you will
Yeah.
not be as burnt out. It's like, I want you to imagine how much money you're leaving on the table because you're burnt out.
mhm,
And
mhm.
it's a very, you started this by saying like, I don't know if I want as much structure. And so you don't have to bring as much, like, I'm bringing a lot of like masculine numbers, like that kind of like energy.
Mhm.
But so I'm not sure if that feels aligned to you,
No, it's
but
good.
I think that like you can say it in a way that might like be like, that can paint the vision even more, like your initial question. And I want all of you to start doing this where you're like, each one of these things, what would it look like? What shifts would they tangibly be able to see? What is their why? And how can I make it tangible? We're taking something intangible,
Mm,
like decision making, and we're going to make it tangible for them. We're like, you will be able to see, taste, touch the shifts that you experience in coaching by giving them numbers, percentages, things like that.
mm,
And if they come at you and they're like, I want to like be like, I want to go 70, I want to grow by like 7 points with decision making, be like, I want it to be realistic, but it's like, I promise it will get better.
mm,
No one has ever worked with me and they've gotten less decisive.
mm. Yeah, exactly. Yes.
So it's like, it cannot hurt
Organized.
you. It's a tax deduction. Let's fucking go.
Organized. Yeah. Yeah.
But this is okay. And now, Anise, this is a gift. I was like, this is the gold
It's a gift. It is a complete gift. Yeah.
because this is your next post.
Yeah. What I think when I sit down and do this, a real resistance comes up. Like, I don't know. This is what just keeps coming up. Like, I don't know the answer, but I know I've just got to dig deeper. So what oh, I can't, because I'm in so much pain today. So what?
Oh, I'm sorry.
It's all right. And my back just is completely gone. I had a slip disc about 3 or 4 years ago, and I thought it was okay when I was teaching. And now today it's just gone. I don't know. It's just, yeah, it's fucking painful, but it doesn't matter. It's fine.
So,
Yeah, I know, it's horrible. But I think the question is like, okay, deeper question is why, what is getting in my way? What is my resistance to getting into the weeds about my pillars? And I'm not able to even, why can't I paint that picture? What am I scared of?
mhm.
You know,
And I think
like I
maybe,
think I'm scared, but I don't know why I think it's fear, because it's like, it just feel, I sit down and there's a resistance and it's hazy and I write some stuff down, but I just think if I could be a bit clearer, and I don't know, I think I have done it. You see, I look, I think I haven't done it, and then I look at my work and I'm like, I've done it, but I feel like I need, I don't know, I feel like I need more, but maybe that's just a thought, I don't know.
okay, so I think it's coming out because you haven't done it yet.
Well, I haven't painted the picture properly, like
Like
effectively.
you haven't necessarily taken someone through this exact pillar for
Mm,
6 months.
mm,
We don't know, right?
that's
And when
true.
your brain gives you, I don't know, then it's
Mm,
like, I want to make sure I stand by something that I believe in, and I'm
mm,
giving something that I can guarantee and promise. And
mm,
so where we go from there is, if you don't have the percentages, numbers, you want to use their percentages and numbers. You still want to think about that, but you can go through, it's like, I know it will get better and it will increase in some capacity.
mm,
My goal, I want to get you here. It's
mm,
like, I would love to get you here. If you are feeling like you really want this goal for your business and you're committed to it, I will show up and make you better at productivity. We're going to find out what is in the way of your decision making right now. And I'm going to help you to make better decisions. And you're going to tell me every single week what is working. And we're going to evaluate for your decision making, for your stress management, for your procrastination. And if you show up every single week and you give me everything you've got, I know we can work with it. And these are just their thoughts.
mm.
So if you tell me what is in the way of decision making, give me an exact circumstance that happened this week. We're going to figure it out. We're going to problem solve. We're going to troubleshoot it, and we're going to get better every single week. And I'm going to track it so I know that you're getting better at decision making every week. And if you dip, we'll know why. And we'll know what was the circumstance, what triggered it. But I promise you, you will not get worse from this. It can only help your business. We're going to figure out why you're procrastinating. We're going to figure out why your stress management and burnout. We're going to figure out your people skills and communication. And what it's going to look like is every single week, you're going to think about what's the biggest opportunity cost that I see that is a problem for my business. And every single week, you're going to bring me one of these 4 things. And depending on what is the biggest area of need, we might need to work on one for a month. We might need to work on one for a day. We might need to work on one for 2 months. But that's why this program is designed specifically for 6 months, so that we can see your growth over 2 quarters.
So I don't really need to go down this route of the structure. Okay, good.
I was like, just tell them it's going to increase and get better, because you will evaluate and ensure it each week.
Yeah. And I remember when we did our consult, and I loved I love a little graph anyway. I mean, I think
Me
everyone loves
too.
but you get a sense of like, oh, we can track this. And I forgot that I forgot to bring that into my consult actually. And actually, he's not going to be the first guy that's going to, or person. It happened to be a man. I mean, it could have been, I mean, I like a graph, so, I present female. But I think having that in my back pocket when I'm painting the picture is good. I like it. And then I think that also gives that sort of sense of like feeling safe as well.
Mhm.
Like, yeah. Okay. All right. Thank you for that.
And you could tell him, like, so like one of the things that I tell you guys, the reason why the questions are worded specifically as they are, is it's not that you're never burnt out ever again, but you have tools to manage and overcome burnout. It's not that you market perfectly every single time, but you know how to. It's not that you are that you get sales calls every week, multiple times a week, and you're closing at 100%. That's never actually the goal. It's that you know how to structure a sales call. And I'm very, very specific about that wording because I know that it's going to grow. You're going to be in a river your whole life as you're in business. There is never going to be a point when you're at a 10 for sales and you never dip below
Yeah.
ever, because you're just like fully confident about sales the whole time, but you know how to structure a sales call like a badass. And that is one of the things that I was like, I want to guarantee that. So you are just saying, I know that like your business is going to be better for these 4 skills for the rest of your life. And it's going to make an impact, not only in your business, but in your personal life as well.
Mm. Mm.
Soap opera or soapbox.
So because you're not on the consult, you're not digging into the hows too much, are you? They don't really want to know the how. I really don't. Like you didn't tell us the how. You
No,
just said,
and
yeah, go on, sorry.
the words from the process. That's why specifically I made the process for each and every one of you for your pillars. I was really careful to be like, you will learn the engagement protocol. There's a way for your not generating leads. You will learn the engagement protocol.
Mm-hmm.
So like, know how.
Yeah. But it's painting the picture. So yeah. Okay. All right.
I'm so
And
proud of you.
just from your experience, do you find that there's certain sentences that just sort of come out of your mouth? You know, I mean, obviously they sound organic, but they've been not rehearsed necessarily, but you're very clear on the punchiness of how you say it, and you know there is worthwhile practicing that, the joining the dots, isn't it?
1,000,000%. Because think about it. Then it's like practicing. Like I have a shift that happens with me. People have noted, like they've made a note. Like I was talking with some friends and they were like, what would your belief be if you had the systems for a 7-figure business? And I'd be like, I know I can help you. I know I can. And there's a conviction that comes from me saying it over and over again. I believe so much in this process. I believe so much in the 6-figure systems. And that's what you're practicing and getting better at too. I want you to feel the level of conviction that these 4 skills, decision making, procrastination, stress management, people skills, if you can master those 4 things, your business will thrive. Your career will thrive.
Yeah. And I do believe that now that I'm really certain on those pillars. I really do believe it. And I felt like I was really strong in my consult this time around than I was last time. And I felt really good about that. I could hear my voice. I could hear my confidence. I could hear, you know, oh, the research says this, blah, blah. So it was very strong. It's just this last bit that I thought, I just need some more practice on this.
And you do. And that's the good news. And you can practice it without being on a consult too. And it's just going to keep getting better and better on consults as well.
Yeah. I need to practice it between times, not just wait and then be like, oh, that didn't fit, you know. Yeah. Like, yeah. So
And you know what's great practice? Marketing.
Say more.
Your reels. When you're doing your reels and stuff, that's where you get to practice it.
Yeah. Yes. Okay. Yeah. Oh, actually, that was the other golden is I hadn't done my reels for March yet, and I was like, this is perfect. This guy's great because he's given me the fact that, you know, my vision's not there yet. How can I bring in? I was like, okay, but actually I haven't got around to doing my reels yet, but it's okay. It will happen.
It's gonna happen.
But yeah, it was a lot of gold coming out of it. Like, yes, you're right. Marketing, painting the vision. Thank you. Thank you. That's really good. Okay, I'm gonna go and rest up. I just want to read all the
yes.
People, they gave
Take
me
all of the icing on your back. Yes, why this will save them time, money, and energy. Sting curiosity. So damn good. Oh, and it needs the volume. I was like, so good.
Did I ask him in his opinion what he thinks needs to happen to bring? Yes, I did. Teresa, I did. Yes. How much is revenue?
Yeah.
Yes.
Love-hate relationship with your pillars.
Yeah. Can you turn up the volume? Oh, is it me? Sorry, Missy.
It's all good. I think we figured it out. But I'm
Okay.
so proud of you, Anise. This was so good. I think for everybody, it's like this is what shows up for you. Like this is like CEO shit right here, and you are killing it. So please go ice your back and rest up.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Thanks.
Any other questions, feel free to post it in the group and I've got you.
All right. Thanks, guys. Have a nice evening. Bye. Or day.
Love you, lady. All right, Sharon. I forget what your question was, but it was a good one. Your story for your webinar.
Yes.
Oh, start us with the win first.
So my win is I'm hosting a webinar and I've posted for the first time.
Well, you put some coaching on.
So I want to I want to talk about my story, but what Anise talked about brought something up for me, and I think I was making something harder than I needed to make it. So when we are on our consult, I think I was going, what I was doing is I mentioned my pillar, and then I'd come back with their language that they were using, like whether they were beating themselves up or they didn't, or they were overwhelmed and all that kind of stuff. It was coming back, but I think I was trying to provide too much of the how. And I think you made a really good point, is just go back, like it's just the title, the emotional management protocol, and then it's whatever that ends up being for them. Yes, I have the structure, and like with my current client, we do go through like her rating and we go through 5 wins and all of that. But I think my logical brain wants to go to the how, and really it's just keeping that possibility thinking. So I don't have to like, and for example, prioritization management, like one of my pillars, I can't talk, is principles of organization. And I could say with work-life balance, I don't have to get into the details, basically. I don't have to, I just need to say basically whatever I call that pillar, and then reflect back to them what they've told me on the consult of how they're feeling and how this like my pillar will help them alleviate that, right?
Yep, exactly. And I'm just like giving this like breakdown for everybody. It's like pillar, where they want to go, use the word that you have in your process, paint mini vision. Pillar 2, where they want to go, paint mini vision. Pillar 3, paint where they want to go, mini vision, 6 months, or pillar 6 months, mini vision. Then be like, can I tell you what would look like to work together? And for you all, you would be customize the pillars and tell them it's like we would do pillar 2. It's like, and tell them order for their needs. So it might be like pillar 3, pillar 2, pillar 1, pillar 4, and be like, by August, this is what I would love to happen. I do have some spots available. Would you want to join? And then be like, then go through and be like, it's like, I feel like we're a good fit. Oh no. Yeah. So it was like long-winded, but is this kind of like, essentially you were saying that at this point, you were explaining exactly what it looked like?
Well, yeah, I think I was getting too far into the how, and I literally would provide a plan that kind of like had items that would break down the how, but also utilizing their words so they can connect it. So utilizing their words that they used in the consult back, like like putting their language back to them so they could. But I think by doing that, I was getting too far into the how. And even when I started my client now that I utilize that pillars and that consult on, we've pretty much just, I mean, yes, we have goals and we're tracking and all that kind of stuff, but like this past Saturday, we had to focus on the thought work. And so it's going to be what it's going to be. And I was getting too, like, that logical part of my brain always wants to go to the how and the process and all that. And it's just, sometimes it needs to be more organic. Let's just put it that way.
Exactly.
Okay. So I have my webinar, and Anise has her webinar on Wednesday. And so anybody that would love to come, we're supporting one another. Elise and I said it's kind of like we're all like, I literally didn't like, she's like, okay, we're going to do this. And I followed her post and we're just like figuring out, I'm flying, like I told you, I'm flying by the seat of my pants. And her and I described it as like, we're both going for a hot wax and it's going to be what it's going to be.
I love it.
So my webinar is called How to Re-Energize Your Workday, and I have all the details lined out, my presentation and everything. With that said, I know I want to tell a story about myself of how so I can connect to my audience and like, why do I know the things that I know? Like for things that come up for me is, this is something I like, I've had coaching and I've coached since, and I see the benefits of coaching for over 20 years. Like I think I told somebody, I think I bought like Awaken the Giant Within when I was in middle school from Tony Robbins. And that's how much of a kind of a nerd I am. So what I'm trying to figure out is what people would find valuable and relatable coming from me and connecting to, just to like in a nutshell.
So what we want to do, zoom into the pillar. You're in a pillar about energy. We want to
Okay.
zoom into a time when you were feeling really that you needed to be re-energized. You found coaching and it really helped you to become more energized and so much more. I'm going to be sharing a lot about that, especially because it is about thoughts and things like that. And it's like, this is the reason why I wanted to do this presentation is because I was where you were. I was feeling drained and tired by the workday, and I learned how to do this, and that's how I want to help you. Amazing. That's kind of a quick one, but I was like,
But
does
how
it feel good to you?
So I was just, yes, I'm trying to hone in to the story. So I just need to look at find a story where I felt like I was drained and I needed to re-energize, and the steps I took to make that happen.
Well, you're teaching them the steps in the webinar.
Okay.
So you're going to be like, when was the time that you utilized the steps that you're teaching?
All the time.
Perfect. I was
Like the whole entire time getting ready for this webinar, I'm utilizing the steps I'm teaching in my webinar. So my two points in my webinar is how, so the problem that I bring up, and I do the science behind it, but the problem I bring up as far as like negative thinking that traps us in our counterproductive cycles, where negative thoughts create our feelings and become our reality. And so, and how fear drives all of that. But I would say then I focus on the two solutions I give is separate your identity from your results, which was so funny that that came up today. And then next, look for evidence from your past to validate successful outcomes. So I would say maybe I focus on, because like in my thought work that I have in this webinar, I have thoughts that either I've had myself or other people have told me or clients have told me. Like for example, I don't know what the hell I'm doing. I've never done a webinar before.
like, okay, so I would go, you could totally go with that, honestly. I would maybe make that happen at the end. Like, I'd be like, towards the end, I'd be like, if I hadn't had this process, you wouldn't be sitting here at this webinar. If I was looking to my past, I've never done a webinar before, never would have created this, never would have dreamed to do this. And you guys wouldn't be here if it weren't for doing the same work I did. Now, I want this to be for every single person. I want you to tie back in your big result within your everything that you do. So, for instance, Tammy, Resilient Life. I want you to tie back in resilience everywhere. For you, I want you to tie fulfillment into everywhere. We want to re-energize our workday. Why? Because a de-energized workday is not fulfilling. Do you see what I mean? And then if you see that throughout the presentation, it's going to be a full circle moment when you get to your program.
So somewhere in there tie again back to my like career fulfillment roadmap. Yes.
Not just somewhere, everywhere in there. I
Yeah.
want you to talk about as much as you can, first off. Second off, I want you to think about like how you were not energized in your workday and you were feeling unfulfilled, and then you became energized and felt more fulfilled. You could even give the example, and this is where I would say that like I like thinking about the negative thinking fear drives results. You could be like, if I had let fear continue to drive my results, I never would have created this business, which I truly think is my purpose and is one of the most fulfilling things I've ever created. It's like, I want you to feel like this, not only for just one work day, but for your career overall.
Mhm.
You see how I weaved it both in? I was like, it's like the bigger picture. I want you to say that in your story. And I want everybody to start saying that in your posts and things like that, bringing it back to the bigger picture. It's like, it's not just about the workday. I want you to feel it's like, I want you to feel re-energized on Friday. I want you to feel re-energized every day. And this is how you do it. You have to, and I use the exact same process I teach. It's the reason I have my own business right now, and which is insanely impressive. Like most people never do this in their lifetime. And it's like, I want you to have this too.
Yeah, I think with that said, I would have gotten here probably sooner had I had more of a defined roadmap to get me here. Had I had me.
Yes.
And you and everybody else on this call.
You should mention us too and be like, and also friends.
Okay.
This is brilliant, Sharon. I'm very excited to hear how this goes.
I think it's going to be like somebody was asking me if I was nervous, and I was like, no, I'm really excited.
Mhm.
Because again, I'm just going to give myself grace. If I make mistakes, it's okay. And I'm figuring things out. So, and I really do think my content is going to be like, I have two objectives. One is to provide value, and two is just to have fun.
Yes. And that is absolutely teaching people that their negative thinking makes their reality weird. What? I was like, wait. No, that's not true. It's like, I'm having a hard time in my reality because of everyone else outside of me. It's like, oh, I can own that and I can change that. What? I was like, no one has taught me this. I was like, I know that I've missed a couple things in school, but no one taught me that my thoughts create my results. It's like, that's not ideal. Missy said, yay, Sharon, your energy around this is incredible. Jess said, love the title. And Tammy said, the how is your program? Yeah, that's the how. It's like the how, do the roadmap, find out. Let's fucking go.
So my next post is I thought my next post should be more about more about how something's helped me. I think I'm just getting a little bit stuck there. I know it has. I just got to break it down and simplify it to create a post.
Yes. So it's like if your pillar is burnout, it's like, so this is how it's like coaching has helped me overcome burnout. I used to feel really burnt out and I don't anymore. I've learned so much and I'm so glad that I want to share this with you that like you too are going to get here. I was like, I've got so many tools I can teach you. Feel free to keep following me. And tomorrow I'm going to share about like one thing that helped me, something like that.
Okay. Okay. Sounds good.
You've got this, lady. We're cheering you on. We can't wait to hear how it goes next week.
No, this week. It's tomorrow.
Well, next Tuesday. We want to hear how it goes, and
Yes.
tomorrow we want to. You're
Well,
wishing
and for those of you that are coming, you'll know how it goes. You'll have a front row.
yes, we're all gonna come. I was like, I wish that I did not already tell my friend I was getting dinner with her, but we'll all be cheering you on, and it's gonna be awesome. It's gonna be so awesome.
Yeah, Anise is at I believe hers is at 2 my time because she's 6 hours ahead of me, 5 hours ahead of you in New York, and then 5 hours ahead of the East Coast. And so we'll both be doing ours tomorrow and you do yours tonight.
Post it in the chat. Yeah. I was like, post it in the stream and it's like, hey, we're around. We'll try and I was like, I know I've got a coaching call at that time, but I'm still so freaking proud and I'm more than happy to watch it back.
Yeah.
Like,
Uh, okay, that makes me think of something. I know when like I figured out my presentation and how I could see my notes and everything. How do you guys figure out like how does the because you guys a lot of times will miss like seeing the chat. Where are you putting the chat, I guess?
so I would say for all the webinars, typically I have a single screen. Tonight I'm going to be standing at my desk and I won't be able to see my chat. So I'm just telling them I'm going to check the chat at the end.
Okay. I actually have things where I'm going to engage everybody through a couple different times. So I'll do it then. Okay, thank you.
Of course.
I'll figure it out.
You're gonna figure it out. It's gonna be good. I have total faith in you. It's a messy learning process, but the messy middle gets you where you want to go, which is good. Amazing. Thank you, Sharon. So many good thoughts there. Jess, I know you want some coaching. Start us
do.
off with a win and let's hear it.
My win is that I'm getting over my um it's not really a fear, I guess maybe fear of asking for help when I need it.
Amazing. I'm so glad.
Um,
What's going
which
on?
is so a lot, and I'm trying to organize my thoughts so I can keep this as concise as possible. The the gist is that I feel like I'm not showing up for my business the way that I want to. And it's because I'm just stretched really thin. Like I'm doing all the things, all the parenting things, all the, I have started this, this job last month that is taking a lot of energy and time. I took on that additional project that we talked about, about a month ago, I think. And I'm really feeling like I'm not fulfilling any of it well right now. Which is leading me to feel like a fraud and leading me to feel like, how am I supposed to walk people through my process when I feel like I can't walk through it right now in the season that I'm in? Because it's just, I look at my calendar every week and I'm trying to find white space and I'm trying to plan all the things, but I feel like I'm planning everything and then I'm not getting it done because I'm trying to do too many things. I'm trying to evaluate where I can get help. Like I'm looking at some, like a personal assistant / executive assistant for a few hours a week, just to kind of take some of the not non-essential, but the things that have to be done that are just taking up too much bandwidth. And I'm feeling very stuck. Like I don't know where I want to go right now. Like I have a goal of doing digital products as a big part of my business. So I'm like, that's the thing that feels the most accessible right now because it doesn't involve consults and it doesn't involve trying to sell my program. And so I'm like, am I doing that just to avoid the discomfort of figuring out how to make it work? Or am I legitimate in thinking I don't have the bandwidth to do that right now? And I'm getting really frustrated with myself. And so as everybody else was getting, coached, and as you were going through the presentation, I know that I go into low value or low energy when I'm not productive enough. Productivity is a huge point of worthiness for me. Worthiness is what keeps coming up over and over and over. So I know I still have work to do there, and it does feel better, like I am making progress, but I'm finding it really hard to see the areas where I'm actually doing well, and I'm not giving myself any credit there.
Yeah.
That was very long-winded.
No, I think that you have articulated this so beautifully because I think that your brain is trying to, I think I'm going to start at the end, come right back. I think that your brain is trying to prove your enoughness and your worthiness through external circumstances.
Always.
Which
Like,
when, that is what brains do. That's what our society teaches us. Nothing has gone wrong. And I want to let you know that, like, what if that was an option? That we can choose that, like, the things that you're doing are enough. Like, what if your project, let's just like throw this out there. I know it sounds different coming from somebody else, maybe because I saw a smile and I'm like, what if your productivity does not actually determine your enoughness or your worthiness? Like, that might be kind of cool.
so it would be amazing. I really struggle to get myself there. And it really occurred to me as you were asking about notice what it feels like when you're in, like, what brings you into high value, what brings you into low value or low energy, however you want to put it, because I think the two coincide. I have a deeply rooted attachment to achievement and productivity as a major validation factor in how valuable I am as a human.
Yep. And when I want you to, this is what I was talking about before, in like when I was like making light of like deep, deep stuff. There was probably a time when when this has served you really, really well.
Yeah.
When I think for many of us, high achievers, a lot of times with the like thinking about grades in school, we were given validation. We moved on. We knew in work there were certain requirements that would take us to either the next level, to a promotion. We were literally like rewarded for these things, right? And there were benchmarks. And there's a version of you that we want to kind of like separate from you, that this served her really, really well. Do you know a time when that the validation factor version of you was really helpful that we can almost like name? Like for me, I'm like, hey, sixth grade Megan, like, hey, you're feeling
I
concerned right now.
yeah, I mean, it would be from as early as I can remember until my early
Now.
20s, maybe. I like, yeah, young. I mean, we could just say young Jess.
Yep. Like, hey, young Jess, it's like, we see you. She's doing the best that she can. And she's seeing that the more she's productive, the more she gets validated. And it's created a really good cycle for her that served her up until right now. On February 27th of 2024, we realized that this cycle actually doesn't help you to become more productive. And if we think about it, that and the reason why we know young Jess is because this now is putting you in a low value cycle. What used to be a motivator for you and a driver
Mm,
has now become a decelerator for it's like,
yeah.
so it's like we're seeing, and we can like just look at it from compassion. Can she see that now?
Yeah, I've never I don't think I've ever classified it as a motivator. It's an interesting way to, but see, so okay, I can see myself doing this right now, where I go down the rabbit hole of, so who the fuck am I then? Like, that was such a huge part of my
Mhm.
personality and my everything, like up until this point. If you ask somebody that's known me for, an extended period of time, and you give them just, you ask for a description of who I am, super motivated, super driven, the one who like thinks big, gets it done, whatever. And there are qualities within that that I really appreciate about myself. But over the last couple of years, and maybe just the last year, really digging into like, was that solely a survival mechanism that I employed in a time where things were chaotic for me? Or is that who I really am or who I really want to be? Like, I find myself craving rest, craving space, and I'm looking at my life and I'm not giving myself that.
Mm.
So, and when I do, I then go into the spiral of, okay, well, you did it again. You gave yourself rest instead of getting your shit done. And so now you're behind. And I just feel perpetually behind. And
Mhm.
I mean, it's in my notes here. I'm gonna start doing a model and just putting it in the group, and whoever wants to give me feedback, it would be much appreciated. I know I'm not doing it enough from that perspective. But again,
You're
see,
doing it enough.
like
I was like, yep. I was like, love
like
that.
it's there rent
Yeah.
free all the time. And like,
Mhm.
I mostly finished a project that had been undone since last weekend. And so as I'm finishing it, it's the physical aspect of seeing something complete
Mhm.
gives me an immense sense of satisfaction.
Mhm.
I am not enjoying the process, and I'm not having any fun with it. And I realize that that's my own doing, but I'm really struggling to get out of it to the point where I'm just like, do I just throw my hands up and accept that like I'm not a person that can get this done the way that I want to get it done. Like it's very all or nothing
I've got a lot
thinking.
of thoughts about it.
Yeah.
I was like, so I think that just within this, when I think that we think about our life, when we're like, is this a survival mechanism or is this who I really want to be? I think we are, I think it's just so awesome that you're actually getting this opportunity to like decide. It's like we get to figure out
Yeah.
who do you want to be? Who do you want to, what do you want to remember your life looking like? And we
Yeah.
can redecide at any point. The reason why I say that is we've tried up until this point as this version of you, you know what that looks like really well. You know what I mean? It's like we know what this looks like, and
Yeah.
you can get into this version of you at any time you want. However, if we're finding that it's actually not making me more productive, if we're seeing that this actually like isn't serving me right now, I want you to think about this version of you that is craving rest and space. And I don't think you've thought about what it could look like to be in the gray.
No, probably no.
You know what I mean? It's like, what would it look like? It's either I rest and I have space and I have fun, but get nothing done, or I
Right.
am super productive and I am getting everything done. And but in your brain, young Jess is like, she's like, that's all I've ever known was black and white. This is breaking my brain.
Yeah.
It's like, what cognitive dissonance. So that's why
Mm-hmm.
your brain's like going to all of or nothing. We need to give it something to latch onto when we're in the messy middle, and we need to figure out what would it look like. It's like when you're like, and I noticed it when you were like rest or getting shit done. And it's like I'm perpetually behind or I'm getting ahead. Seeing something complete or I am not enjoying the process and things like that. I'm just like hearing a lot of like black or
Yeah.
white. So one of the things I realized is that I am very similar to you. And I not trying to project on you at all, but I will for a moment. And I am a hardcore type 3 achiever. I like to see the product. I want to see it done. And because of that, I've developed a hobby of cooking. Every night I cook, and it is my one time during the day to see something through. There is not much in my life that is actually complete except for that meal at the end of the day. And I am proud of it. And I post that motherfucker and I'm like, this is me. I did the thing today. It was great. You know what I mean? And there's a lot of stuff in my life that is in process. And it's helped me to find that middle, to find the like, okay, I can see that my business is in process. And it helps me to go from constant achiever to allowing myself to appreciate a couple of things and decide what I want my life to look like. With this, and we can always redecide at any time. So currently, you have your parenting, you have your job, you have the business, and you have an additional project that you took on, right? First off,
Yeah.
not all these are forever. It's like the end, we can redecide on them at any point. This additional project does actually have an end time, right?
Right.
When is that?
I don't know. I think the job has an endpoint before the additional project does, just mostly because of logistics with our plan to move over the summer. I don't know that there would be an option to continue with the job, or if I would want to. So in my mind, the job has an expiration date of like the end of July.
Okay. So let's say, so we got end of July / summer. We know the job has an endpoint. Parenting, probably don't want to end the parenting thing. I'm like guessing they're
No.
probably like, we don't want to do that. So it's like,
No.
it's going to be a constant thing. And then we know that the business is something you probably want. Tell me more about the business.
So I think that I'm at a bit of a, I don't want to say crossroads. That's not the right term. I'm in a phase of reimagining what I want it to look like.
And you can
I think
choose at
I've
any point, by the way.
Yeah, and I think I'm getting more used to that idea. I think I've had a very prescriptive kind of mindset around what business should look like and how I should feel. And I'm so used to being stressed and overworked that that is my fucking terrible comfort zone. And what I'm seeing is how that is manifesting in the rest of my life. And I don't want to be an angry, tired mom. I It's really important to me to be doing. I thought I was gonna make it all the way through without crying. Um, that is the point that's really struggling for me, is because I did not have the best example. I want to do it different. I had an epiphany that I get to do it different. But when I look at my life, I'm not necessarily doing it the way that I want to. And I feel like I'm just constantly running away, like not away from my life responsibilities, but I'm rushing through them. I'm like rushing through the life stuff to get all the things done instead of just living and enjoying my life. I'm like, I guess, waiting for all of these things to happen and then I can quote unquote enjoy myself. And I realized how ridiculous that is. But I have had way more bad days recently than good. And I'm really trying to evaluate how I'm contributing to my own suffering. And so it feels like something has to give.
Hmm. So I think your brain is like, the business has to, like, it's like,
Mhm.
and I just want to take you. What if it does for a little bit?
Yeah, that was my knowing that I can make it look like whatever I want. I was trying to figure out, like, how do I just show up and give value and detach completely from the outcome or from the like idea of hustling to get the clients, and you know, what do I actually enjoy about this, and what are the activities that are going to give, like, energize me versus deplete me. And I mean, I gotta say, I fucking hate social. I hate it. I don't want to do it. I don't want to record myself. I have tried so hard. I will have moments of like great inspiration. I'll jot down all kinds of ideas. I do the chat GPT. I have great prompts. I go to do the stuff and I'm like, this sucks. So I'm recognizing that there's an opportunity to hire help for that. So I'm exploring what my options look like to continue that in a way that's meaningful. I'm really called and pulled to do a podcast, and it seems very backwards for me to start there. But also I find the most value, and I feel like I give the most value when I'm having conversations and I'm connecting with people in that way. And so then I'm like, but yeah, like, you're fucking crazy. Nobody wants to listen to you.
Okay, so we're just gonna put that lovely voice on the back burner for a smidge. I think we heard a glimmer of something that you feel really genuine about in two ways. I think you describe what you don't want here about like the desired outcome for the example that you want to set. And we also talked about the podcast being an opportunity for you to share your voice. And I think your brain is in your intuition. You're like, everything about you is saying that, like, hey, I want things to change. And you're just like, your brain's just like, take it a smidge of resistance, just taking a moment to be like, this is like a feeling that I have. And so we're just going to gently be like, hey, no one wants to listen to you, part of your brain. We're just going to like put them on the side. Maybe there are some people that would want to listen to you. I think there are 5 of us right here that would actually really love to hear what you have to say. So thank you, brain, and not necessarily factual. So we're just not going to include that input. Now, when you were saying that you didn't want to be a tired, angry mom, what do you want to be?
I don't know if I've really thought about it.
Of course,
I
because
think I've been really busy thinking about all the things I don't. I compare myself a lot or think a lot about my experience, and I have a lot of fear of unintentionally repeating things. And my biggest fear as a parent is that I am going to cause more harm than good because I am not healed enough in my own shit.
Mm-hmm. So I've got something that I want to say to you that might not make you feel good right away. So just a preface for that, okay? That this fear that like you haven't healed enough and that you could do harm to your child because of doing that. I wanted to tell you that there might be a time when you haven't necessarily healed enough. And in the moment, it could cause them some discomfort in their life. And I want to let you know that that's okay. I want you to, I have this like trust that like, I know that you have the intention of doing so much good for them. And if you have that in your heart, you can only do the best you can do in that moment. And sometimes your best is probably not going to be very good. And that's okay.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's like, in like it for you and your business as well. It's like doing the best that you can might look like not being able, doing everything pretty. It's like my brain always says, it's like you're doing everything in a piss poor manner. And I say, and that's okay. I'm like, that's okay. I'm like, sometimes I am. And you know what?
Yeah.
It's the best I can do at this moment. And I just don't want to look back on my life fearing that I'm going to do something
Yeah.
instead of just, and like, there's that thing I think we talked about like last week, like on when people come towards the end of their life, they don't regret the stuff they did. They just regret the
Yeah.
stuff they didn't do. And I think that you have done a really good job of healing yourself for your kiddos. The fact that you were even have the awareness to be like, I want to protect you so much that you never, it's like Nemo and Marlin. It's like, I want to like just make sure that you are okay and I never do you any harm and it just feels better. And it's like, yeah. But what does Dory say in Finding Nemo? She's like, it's like, she's like, well, then isn't he like, he's like, I want to make sure he never gets hurt by anything. It's like, well, then she's like, well, then he'd never do anything or something like that. It's like,
Yeah.
your kids are
Yeah.
probably going to experience negative stuff and it might be in your power to control and you might not be able to control it and that's okay. They're going to be all
Yeah.
right. They're going to be they're already awesome kids just because you're their mom. And
Just one. But yeah, she's pretty great.
yeah, she's pretty great. Doing damn things. Okay. So if we have this fear, does that feel like this fear is going to come up again?
Yeah.
That I'm not healed enough, that I haven't done enough. What do you want to say to that fear whenever it comes up?
I want to say thank you for reminding me to keep trying.
Yes. And that's a really, really good example for these nuggets. Also, there's like the chat is exploding and I love it. And I'm reading it in a second. I was like, there's so many thoughts I think all of us have. But the other thing is if your child had a goal and they were experiencing constantly rushing through life and they were like going through and having more bad days than good and we're like, I am not doing this right. I'm not doing everything all at once that I can do. Would you want them to continue?
I mean, I wouldn't want them to continue talking to themselves like that. I would want them to realize that I would want her to realize that sometimes good enough is just good enough and it doesn't mean anything about who you are as a person.
And now your brain is going to offer, but not you. Like, of course, my daughter.
Exactly. I was
You.
like, except for me, because it obviously means I'm terrible.
Exactly. And so, what if this is the universe that's like, she needs you? This is the example that would be really cool for her to see you doing. And actually doing
Mhm.
things that bring you joy and learning how to manage your young Jess, who is really trying to help you out. Man, she is tenacious, that young Jess,
Mm,
right? But it's like, it's just, we're seeing that, like, oh, hey, I hear you. And this is like, what Tercy was saying at the beginning is like, hey, I hear you, young Jess. But you saying that nothing is, what was it? It's like, I'm not fulfilling anything well. It's like, it's like, I am not doing anything enough. I'm struggling to see any area that I'm doing well. I'm stuck and I don't know where to go. It's like all those, it's like, hey, I love you. Hey, you're okay. Okay. You're safe here. We're actually an adult and we actually get to make our own decisions about life and we can actually do things that are fun. It's like no one else is telling us what to do anymore. We can just do things that feel good to us. And that's actually, I think, what we're supposed to do in the world. It's like do things that feel good.
yeah. I was listening to a book that I've kind of listened to on and off for a little while now, called We Should All Be Millionaires. If you guys haven't listened to it, 100% listen to it. She's
Oh, good.
incredible and it will inspire the shit out of you. And the last chapter, which is what prompted me to start thinking about getting a personal assistant, it was talking about staying in your zone of genius and how you can delegate in order to do that. And I use that term zone of genius often, and I don't know that I've ever sat down and like evaluated my own and to see where I really come alive and I it's the point at which you thrive easily. Like we have, it's like based on 4 different zones. I think from the Strength Finders is where she did it. But at any rate, it got me thinking about like, what are the things that come very naturally to me that feel very good, that also have proven to move the needle in any circumstance, right? Or like in any scenario, whether it's like professionally, personally, whatever. And sales and connecting are things that I'm really good at. I think that I lean on that in my professional world, obviously very easily. Like I'm sought after for it, and very successful in that sense. When it comes to my own business, I've struggled with selling it because it feels like I'm selling myself. And when you have such deep rooted feelings and thoughts of unworthiness, it's difficult to effectively sell, right? Like I believe that I have crafted enough knowledge and expertise to help people. But when I look at my own life and I see all of the gaps and all of the places that need attention, I'm not offering myself that grace of like, the seasons are difficult, and there isn't this situation I'm in where I'm pretty much solo parenting is not going to be forever, and I know that. What happened? Okay, let me look at. I'll fix it in a minute. So I see these things. I feel like I don't know where I was going. I lost my train of thought.
You're
But
good.
at
You're
any
good.
rate,
But I was saying
I
that
want
like
to focus on the things that I'm good at so that I can maximize those, and I can like outsource the things that I don't enjoy or that I'm not very efficient at, like building a sales funnel or like whatever.
Yeah.
Like I'm not,
you'll
I don't
love
know what the
that.
hell I'm doing.
And so within this, I want to let you know that there are a couple things I want to hit on. The first thing is when we're thinking about it's hard to sell when you are fixating on the worthiness piece of things. And when you think about selling yourself, of course, we can point out all the places where we are not perfect and get into a ton of insufficiency. However, what can always bring you back when you feel like you're in that scarcity, if let's say you're a level 4 version of yourself, you've figured out enough to get to that point. And there are people at level 1, 2, and 3 that could probably use you. So if that we can maybe assume that's true, because you can just look around and see all these people who haven't figured out stuff and be like, I figured out something that's enough to help people right now,
Yeah.
right where I'm at. And I don't need to have more figured out in order to bring that.
Yeah. It's funny, as you were saying that, I had a thought about alcohol in particular is what popped up. And I've done a lot of work within that space for myself from a wellness perspective, because I just, having an autoimmune condition and all of the things, it just exacerbates a lot of that stuff. And so, I remember working with my coach in, my God, 2019, I want to say, on my own habits around it, and going from how could I possibly limit myself to 7 drinks a week to now I might drink once a month, if that. And it's not even a question of like, I I don't want to, because I know of the effect it will have on my day-to-day life, and I don't have time for that, like that result or that downtime. And I don't like feeling like crap anymore. I would rather sit in my uncomfortable feelings and feel like crap than numb it out and feel like crap for 2 days later, So I I feel like there is an element of, I'm almost talking to I feel like maybe I'm trying to talk to people that are further in their journey than I need to.
I
Like
agree.
yeah, like I think I almost need to go back to,
Old Jess.
yeah, like me at, when I first started working with a coach, because that's, I mean, oh my God, light years of
That's right.
development and growth in that past few years. So, um,
Which we
yeah,
love. So what if you, and first off, and just coming back to something else, I want you to think about like if you can identify what you don't want, you can identify what you do want. So you mentioned
Mhm.
like you're like, I don't want to be a tired, angry mom. It's like, what if
Mhm.
instead it's like I want to be an energized, like joyful mom. And it's like,
Yeah,
okay, now I know what I'm working towards. These are the
yeah,
things I would do to help myself get to that point. Put that in the R line, and then you can problem solve it back. Like, what would I need to be thinking? What is that future version of me? I know I'm going to be a tired, angry mom sometimes, and I'm cool with that.
yeah.
Part of the process, of course. Probably going to be a
Hmm.
tired, angry mom more than I would like. But and again, you are not at all a tired, angry mom. And these, I'm just giving your brain thoughts. So these are things that you can think about. Anything that you're like, I don't want this, I do want this. I want you to make a list of those things. But I
Okay.
also think we have enough to go on here that you were like, okay, I want to make sure that I'm doing it. This comes back to like the very beginning of like, I'm feeling stuck and I don't know where to go. I see the things that I should be doing for my business. And I also see that this is something I want to be doing. So for all of you, it's like I think that we statistically, you guys know that okay, working with somebody one-on-one would probably be a great option. We've got a lot of evidence to as to why that works. And right now, maybe until July, we choose to sell something else. Just like what I was talking to Tammy about, I was like, until the end of March, this is what she's going to be selling. Until the end of July, we could sell something and we could do a podcast and we could connect with people in a way that feels good to you. And there's this awesome thing that I'm going to do a training on this week called Video AI that I fucking love. And you can do a long form content and you can take a video, maybe a podcast. If you just take a video of yourself recording a podcast, it you little snippets.
Yeah, that's
40,
exactly what I need.
Mhm. And then we've got
Okay.
marketing and coaching made easy. Third time's a charm. LOL. Sometimes it cuts not in a great way. It's like, it was like, I was literally like re-recording it and it was the first 12 seconds of it. But if you think about like so I was saying that like maybe you could make something that could be a digital product about alcohol. And we're just like building up an audience so that
Yeah.
we're ready to sell your coaching. We got them.
And that's exactly where I was thinking. I have all of these resources that I've been putting together for current clients. Like I've got a goal setting workbook, I've got fitness plans, I've got meal plans. I have all of these things that I think are very valuable. Um, but I do think that they're great like entry products into coaching, specifically around like nutrition and health and things like that, because it's like it's a challenging thing to rewire in that way because food is so habitual. Um, so that was where my thought was, is that I would walk them through almost a series of digital offerings that were, some combination of like a workbook download and then maybe like a mini course. And I say that just so that I would have some kind of video component with it. Um, and then it would lead into like one-on-one. Um,
Which we
because I
love.
don't think people are really like, and this is also a thought that I probably need to work on, but like for nutrition, people are freaked out. They're like, oh, this person's going to tell me not to eat anything ever again. And like, while that might be true, it depends on your circumstance. Really, it's very particular and specific, but it does involve uh eliminating a lot of stuff initially, and people are very scared of that. So,
Maybe you talk
maybe I
to
could do
people who
like a
aren't scared.
Survivor series.
Yeah, or like
Like,
maybe we talk to people who aren't scared.
yeah,
I was like, oh, I know I'm gonna eliminate stuff. Let's fucking go. Like,
yeah, yeah, that would be nice.
do you know there are people out there like me? I
Yeah,
can promise. I was like, I actually am one of them.
yeah,
Maybe there's
okay.
not eliminating the right things and things like that. But I want you to notice that you felt like really stuck at the beginning of this
Hmm.
call. You were like, I'm feeling stuck. I'm feeling like I don't know where to go. And I think we've identified where you want to go in your business. You want to focus on digital offerings that eventually lead into one-on-one, that we create a podcast and we use the videos and repurpose them to social media content.
Hmm.
It's pretty clear to me. What about like, what if this is what your business is supposed to be for right now? Will you finish up these other two things and then you can jump right back in?
Yeah, I like that. That feels nice.
Right? Was okay, so we feel almost enjoyable.
Yeah, like I do actually think I would enjoy those things.
Why? What would you be thinking?
I love creating and connecting. So, and I get so much value out of having conversations with people. Like like a podcast is going to be something that is more of an interview kind of based, where I'm talking to women about their actual stories of, whatever it is, overcoming, childhood trauma, shit, relationships with, like, all the things, like mommy wine culture and why you don't want to be a part of it, and like just like
I think
all.
you got a couple of guests for your podcast right here, by
Yeah,
the way.
yeah, yeah. I would love that.
Wouldn't that be so fun? And it's
Thanks,
like,
Dana.
wow. And what if like you don't have to start this podcast tomorrow to be
Yeah,
successful or enough? What
yeah.
if you don't have to do social for it for a little bit and you can just like store up those videos and you can post it whenever you need to? What if none of that means anything about yourself? That you can be enough right now. Jess is freaking awesome right now with all this stuff going on. I think that all of us could agree you're a badass. You're doing all the things. And what if it can actually feel fun? What if we can choose to have a fun life and it means that like
And still get shit done.
and still
Yeah, I think that that's really like a deep message, is that if you're getting it all done, how could you possibly have time for fun? I think that that's what I was modeled
yep,
growing up.
probably. And it's like, oh, hi, mom, dad,
Yeah,
everybody. It's like,
yeah,
I like sometimes I have thoughts and I've like never questioned it. Like I had a thought that I was bad with money from
yeah.
an ex version of my partner. And I was like, wait a second. I'm actually like really good with money. I was like, wait,
Hmm.
wait. I actually know a lot about this stuff. There's some words that y'all know I get confused, but other than that, I'm like pretty on my shit. And so it's like one of those things that like, within that, I want you to give that version of past you or past person in your life. And I want you for every way that they're like, oh, you didn't get enough done today. Be like, okay, well, here are 5 things I didn't get done today.
Yeah,
Like, here are 5 things I did get done, and that is enough for me. Thank you. And it was fun. And in fact, like that's actually the legacy I want to leave.
yeah,
Hashtag generational trauma heal.
yeah.
It's like, boom,
Yes,
president.
yes. Thank
So,
you.
of course, let's think about this also. What if the circumstance is that you live life to the fullest? What if that is like the goal? It's like, what if that is your goal? I'm giving you a new goal, achiever. And the result is that you like the biggest goal that you want to have is you just want to enjoy life.
Yeah,
Like every day, that's your new goal. And I literally
yeah,
like would make this my goal when I first started coaching every day. I was like, how can I enjoy my life today? Because that's the life I want to look back on.
yeah,
If
yeah.
that's then you can find 5 ways that you enjoyed your life every day. Like, yeah, I didn't get the pot roast done perfect, but it's like I had fun slicing and dicing, and it was great. And that is a check mark on my life. The podcast
Yeah.
didn't get ended, probably won't for another week, and I'm also cool with that.
Yeah.
I love you.
I
Thank
love
you for bringing all this. You were such a badass, and I'm so glad. So now I'm gonna read the like 12 new messages in the chat. So Teresia said, feel you completely. So I think it was serving everybody. Sharon, put your webinar in the bad boy. Put it in our stream. We will totally register and support you mentally and physically. Tammy said, I keep seeing an image of a rubber band. The rest feels like, will you pull back? Allow yourself to rest.
Mm,
Tells you forward. So what if this is your intentional propelling time? You're just building it up. You're like,
yeah.
in July, when I'm not solo parenting and I have one job, this business is gonna light up. But right now, I'm gonna focus on this. Teresia said, Jess, I think you're underestimating your capacity in this season with young children and trying to do all the things. It's crippling when you use an outdated methodology of success without thinking about the variables of motherhood. What's interesting is that your body's telling you a very different story than your brain. Woo! Sheesh. So yeah,
Mhm,
body's sending you some messages and we should probably
mhm.
listen to them. That is dang. I was
Yeah.
like, I love that. Because I think it's like also a little smidge patriarchal about like this is what you have to do and
Mm,
things, but they also don't have a human that he does. I was like, obviously your husband, but he's like literally like the world sees us as like, I don't know if you guys
mhm,
have seen that like monologue from Barbie or like there's another one from like
mhm.
Gone Girl. It's like the
Oh,
girl. But it's like, yeah, we're expected to do all the things and like let's just like smash that version of societal expectations and be like, yeah, I'm choosing to do 3 jobs and add on a 4th business and it's gonna be awesome. And it's gonna be exactly what I choose it to be, and everything that I've done is enough. Tammy said, I feel so deeply that she's relating to this. Sharon is saying that is like relating deeply to all this. You got coached today for a reason. I'm so proud of you. Um, it's what you do. That's what you do. I see Jess as love and creativity. Oh, Sharon, that's such a beautiful thought. I love that.
that is beautiful. Thank you.
And maybe it doesn't have to be a full-on podcast. Maybe it can be like a shorter style, like Marie's Q&A Tuesdays, high value, shorter time. I don't know what that is, but I love that. And for my podcast, fun fact, I'm repurposing all the videos I've been doing in my Facebook class or my Facebook group. And I'm like, they're all under 10 minutes, I think, except for this one. I'm like, 4-minute podcast, let's go. I'm like, this is what my ideal client wants. Let's do it. I love that it doesn't have to be a long time for an ICA. And I love the idea of doing podcast interviews. That'd be really fun.
Mhm.
Great book recommendation. Teresia said, loving just seamless. She was like, I think that this is when you were like, yeah, I would never tell my child to do this, but then I would obviously tell myself to do that. And she was like, love the seamless transition to mom mode. So true. My brain loves to offer that perfection is the gold standard and everything else is rubbish. When it tells me that's real, when it tells me that it's so real, but it's also a load of crap. So you can be like, yeah, thanks, brain. This is the bullshit detector. You can be like, no, 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 not today. Here are 5 things I did. Be on your way. Love the podcast. Sharon says the 80-20 rule analysis. It's like 20% focusing on your zone of genius is the 80%
Yeah.
that's going to get you to the highest and best use of your time and talents. And the zone, it's like that's going to get you 80% of productivity.
Yeah.
Yes, focus on your gifts and goals. Fucking great stuff. How are you feeling now?
Really a lot better. I don't
And
feel anywhere near as anxious about all of it as I did. So Thank you guys so much.
Amazing. And I want to challenge you to not put your thought work in the stream every single day. You do not need to, but if you ever need us, you totally can. I was like, I noticed that you were like, I will put it in
I
the stream
know. I
every
need
day. And everybody,
accountability.
if you, it's like, no. If you want to, we're here for you. And also, you don't need to. We love you.
Thank you guys. And now I have to run because I actually have an interview for a personal assistant. So cross your fingers. We'll see how
You
that
got
goes.
this. Go, go, go. Do amazing things.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay.
All right.
Bye.
Love you, lady. Bye. Tammy, I am so sorry. I didn't even realize the time. I still have time. I still have another 15 minutes. Do you want to start us off with a win and do some super quick coaching?
Sure. So my win is actually being able to be on a couple different platforms this week to be able to talk about debt and money.
I saw that you were on a panel.
Yes, that's
she?
tomorrow. I'm very excited. That's my first one ever. Well, no, it isn't. Yeah, like on that size platform, because that has like 7,000 people who attach themselves to that flow. So yeah, I'm really excited about that. My thing, I want to dig in deeper on these pillars. And the reason why is because like I feel like there's some tweaking and fine tuning in relation to, so like I was processing this earlier. It's like, okay, if I make 100%, let me start over. I'm thinking about different streams of income inside of what I do. So like kind of like touching on, I could create digital stuff with that walks people through budget, or digital stuff that, hey, here's how you negotiate, here's a script, here's a, you know what I mean? And like these things are proven from someone who's been in the industry for 20 years. So like I could create additional things to put out there for a lower dollar amount that baby steps people into, oh, you know what? Let me just have you do this for me, or let me have you do this alongside me, kind of thing. And then I'm looking at my pillars and I'm like, okay, money management, that feels 100% spot on, because it's like that can tie into mindset, strategy, and systems. And kind of like what you were saying is like, you can coach people into having a $100,000 system. Well, I know I can coach people into putting their money on autopilot where they're not accidentally overspending or whatever and giving their money a job. I know I can do that. So that feels very in alignment. The rest of them, I'm kind of going, because to me, the debt consultations and the budget blasting is the low hanging fruit. And so like, I still feel like I'm fighting this. Well, do I want to do, like I want to be able to offer resilient life, which includes like, money management and relationships and, like getting back up after you've been knocked down and that sort of thing. But I feel like there's still dissonance going on there for me in just approaching resilient life when people keep coming to me for debt, and like people have started sharing with me frauds and things like that, because I'll call people out. I will, I'm very aggressive in that. And so like I feel like a pillar of mine could be frauds and scams. Or does that tie under, like maybe a watchdog, maybe a pillar would be watchdog, where then it's like, okay, I'm watching out for you, your money, your end goals, and frauds and scams, because it's more encompassing. So like I'm trying to look at the 30,000 square foot view to give me enough content and that kind of thing where it's variety that leads people into resilient life. I don't know. I feel like I'm all over the place still.
I'm following. I'm like, so here is, I think that you might think that people keep coming to me for money because because people are. I think it's also what you're talking, like, I haven't seen you talking about as much other stuff. Like even on, I was like, I saw your story the other day and it was like about the link for it. So it's like, if you build it, they will come, is a thought that I want you to have. It's like people keep coming to me for money. So I know how to make people come to me for something is an important skill. Now, within the different streams of income, this is just like an observation that I've seen, is that like when I feel like all of us, whenever we get in like a financial situation where we're like, the first thing we do is like do a bunch of other stuff. So it's like our brain is always like, okay, you know what would be good? It's like, I know that I've got these right now, you've got 3 offers, right? So we've got the Consult, Budget Blaster, Resilient Life.
Yeah.
Where your brain's like, you know what would probably make me more money? Offer 5, 6, 7, and 8, and 9.
Well, no, not even more. I'm thinking in terms of low hanging fruit, because I see all these things on social media streams. I'm buying some of the stuff where it's like, oh, $7 thing, and so I'm kind of going, okay, if I get some consistency with some low hanging fruit out there,
Then
because I could sell in my stories, I could put a link, I could figure out how to then automate it so they automatically get it instead of me manually doing it.
Mhm.
But then at least that would generate some more revenue coming in.
Yeah. And you could do like we talked about before, as a paid freebie. Didn't you say you want to make 3,000 a month
Minimum, yeah.
minimum? Okay. So we've got, if you want to sell 429 people, you could
Mhm.
totally do this. 429 people. And you've mentioned this so many times that I'm like, you know what? Let's give it a try. Like, let's go. Let's try this. And so we're going to try to sell 429 people on a one freebie, and then it'll be a part of your funnel.
Right. And it's like, I
We're
even
going to
have,
keep the pillars. We're going to keep the pillars for Resilient Life, right? You're still going to be talking about these every single week. You're going to talk about stress for a week, and we're going to talk about relationships for a week, because we still want to learn the skill of selling that. And you're also going to include a freebie about, or not freebie, like this like small paid offer. And what is that going to be?
gosh, it could be so many different things. Well, I know like I have a series of 3 videos that I've recorded that talk about negotiation, debt, how to negotiate current interest on like credit cards when you're current on them, because that seems to be a really hot topic for people that they didn't know they could do. So like I feel like I could offer those 3 videos for like $47 or even like 97 or whatever, just because the value in those videos alone has saved people thousands of dollars, and it's already proven.
Okay. So like, again, I was like, value alone has saved thousands and proven method. So we know that this is what your brain is like, okay, these are the things that if it's like that thought, I just want to offer to you, this could also be a thought that you have about like Resilient Life. It's like coaching has saved people thousands, and it's a proven method that I'm teaching. So it's like we just want to always be like adding that to like continue to sell yourself on Resilient Life. And let's go for it. In the next 4 weeks, if you sign it, like, do you want to make it $47, $7, or $97?
Trying to think on that. Like maybe I do. So like the 3 videos could be 97, and then if someone just wants 2 of the videos, 47. Because like either
Do
way,
you see
it's
your brain
already.
is like it's really like having a hard time bundling stuff. It's like, because it's like, do you see how that's like, if you give people 2 options, they're gonna say 0. They're gonna say no, thank you. Let's give them one option. But
Okay,
that
so
like
let's go with 97.
90, like, and this is just psychology. Again, you can try it, but let's just, for the next month, let's go for this $97. You're gonna go all in on this. That would be 31 people.
Yeah.
Okay. Let's give this a try. Your brain has really, really wanted to go with this low ticket offer funnel, and it's worked for some people for sure. So you're going to be one of the people that this is going to work for. We're going to choose to make this work, and we're going to choose to make this part of your funnel. What would you need to do to sell 31 people this offer? The thing is, I just want you, like, as a CEO of a business, I just want you to be like, this is what I'm doing. and let's roll with it. So what would
Okay,
we need
so-
to do here?
It so the actions would just be talking about it, sharing it, promoting it, sharing the results and the testimonies from people that I've already gotten as a result of them going through that training. If I can figure out how to automate it, that'd be even better, because every time someone messages me, it's like, oh, let me like copy paste all the links and stuff. And I'm thinking maybe I could do that through private YouTube or whatever.
Yep. And
Uh,
also, like for that's what I do for my funnel. Like, do you have an email provider?
I do not like, I get a little overwhelmed with thinking about setting that stuff up. So I haven't gotten that far, even though I have a list of close to 200 names with emails that I've so like whenever anyone joins my free group on Facebook, there's a little question thing they fill out, and most of them have filled out email and what they want to learn. So it's really easy for me to customize stuff in there.
Mm-hmm. And I also would offer that like maybe we could start talking to those people about Resilient Life if they've already done the other one. You know what I mean? It's like like
Mhm.
being like, hey, it's like I know you talked to me about this. I want to see how your goals are coming on. Like do some outreach, I think would be really helpful, because I think that like we could totally do this, or we could sell one person into Resilient Life. And I think you've got a lot of these people. So again, if this is going to be part of your funnel, let's like sell all of these people in on this, and also be like, hey, by the way, also like I want to work with you for 6 months. Like, let's talk about what that could look like. Selling yourself on it, that like this is the next best. I want you to sell yourself that this is the next best move for them. After they do the $97 thing, it
Mhm.
would be a really important thing for them to invest in this. I think that there's probably one too many people that would pay this for the Resilient Life. Don't you think that there's like one person that's out there? That
I'm
probably
sure I'm sure there is. I think it's just because like so much of my focus has been debt and money, where Resilient Life is like, okay, here's now we look at everything. It feels like a stretch between the two. And if I'm thinking about just the people inside of that group, well, they are there to learn how to negotiate with debt collectors and do budgeting and things like that. So part of my brain's going, well, this feels like a stretch if I were to just offer it inside of this group.
and we're gonna find out. I think that like you are sold on this. Let's go with what you're sold on. You're like, this is absolutely worth $97. People need this. Let's sell this. And from it, we're going to learn how to market. And again, the only reason why we wanted to do Resilient Life is when we came, you were like, I've done debt. I really, really want to help people as a life coach. I really want to transition. I feel like this is meant for me. And I want to learn how to sell a life coaching program.
Yeah.
So it's like that's the only reason why I'm fighting for it. I could totally fight for Budget Blaster, totally fight for anything else that's money related. It just, I think that this is something that you're like, I feel like I've been called to do this. And so that's the only reason why I'm like, this I feel like is a really amazing program. We could also break down we could create a whole 6-month program on money. But I just know that you wanted to do more of the coaching thing.
Yeah, and it's funny hearing you say that, because it's like, oh yeah, I did say that, didn't I?
I was like, yeah, so this is like when we did our consult, this was the thing that you were like, I want to get out of just money. You're like, everybody knows me for money. I can do so much more for them. I would really like to help more people build up a relationship with God. And I have like a really good, like, I really want to help them become more secure. I've learned the model. I've done all these different things like about their vision, about their why, and things like that. And so that's the only reason why we create this program. I think that people would pay $6,500 for just money management for 6 months.
And I think I'd have to map that out, because like right now, my map is 6 weeks for them from like beginning to end, and that includes even like a little bit of mindset stuff. So it's like it's heavily focused tactics and strategies, but then the mindset to coach them through sticking with it and, overcoming their own internal objections and things that they have. So then like a stretched out version that I could work on mapping something out like that. I think that's
Well, I
doable.
think that we just pause on that. It's like, I think that like, because it's like, because now you're like, okay, do I need to make a decision? Am I a life coach or am I a money coach? And I think that both are great options. You're about to go on this huge panel, and I would love to have something that you have as an opt-in for the panel for 7,000 people. Do you think out of those 7,000 people, there are people who would, if you were sold on the resilient life, I think that there are people who would be sold on it too.
Yeah, so it's like I thought about this yesterday and I was talking to the second person in charge, and he was like, yeah, people need what you have as it relates to money, but you also, like, I was sharing with him, kind of like the behind the scenes admin stuff that I do, where I literally pull out of people their next steps without, like, I don't tell them what to do. I literally pull it out of them in the style of questions. And he's like, oh my gosh, we have so many entrepreneurs who need that as well. And so he was like, you can offer whatever you want, but like those two things are going to be key for this group, because most of them are solo or, solopreneurs or entrepreneurs newer in business, and they don't know their next step. And then, yeah, so like I've created some slides on that where it's like, and then like my slides have a QR code where they scan it to get a free 15-minute quick session. So we could really focus in and just go, really quickly,
Why are
with
you
it.
doing this? Do not give them, do a consult. 1 hour to talk about how we can make money work for you in the Budget Blaster.
Okay. Yeah, I could switch that out to the hour consult thing. That's
Yeah.
easy.
Okay, wait, because you see how you're offering like a lot of different things. And I think it's like
I think it's because I'm offering so many things where I'm like, oh, I need a 15-minute to figure out, which thing they
Yeah.
actually need, because
It's
I'm not
like
going to be
there's just
talking.
Mhm.
Yeah, I'm not going to be like talking to them one-on-one. It's like I'm addressing a whole bunch of people at the same time
So
in that group setting.
let's focus. We started this month with the goal of signing people into Budget Blaster. I think it was 10. And
Yeah.
now, so you've signed 10 people into Budget Blaster? 10 people into Budget Blaster?
No, I
Okay.
haven't signed anyone. I have a potential, but she can't start until next month.
Okay, so let's do this. For this panel, I would love for you to try this. I know you've been like dying, like your brain is like, please let me sign this, do this low-hanging fruit thing. After this, I want you to sign 10 of the 7,000 people into Budget Blaster.
Mm-hmm.
I like just to learn the skill of a CEO, as like I stay by what I tell people. Like, it's like if I commit to a goal, I'm going to see this goal all the way through. And then after that, after we sign 10 people into Budget Blaster, then we can do the other low-hanging fruit offer. Not for me, just for like the sake of your business and things like that. Because then you'd have plenty of money, and then we can pay for an email platform that automates things, and we can do this and things like that. Could you sell Budget Blaster doing these same things?
Not on the platform for tomorrow, because it's actually through a financial assistance company that already specializes in teaching what Budget Blaster is. It'd be a conflict of interest. So like I can sell like the debt consultation calls. I could sell life coaching.
Maybe you talk about how the resilient life, all these things are skills that solopreneurs could really use.
Mm-hmm.
And you're going to teach them how to do that?
Yeah. That would be the consultation call. Okay. Yeah.
How does that feel to you though? It's like, I want you to be, because if we were to do the 3, it's like, I didn't realize it's tomorrow. If we have 7,000 people there, I don't want you to stay up and try and figure out this new offer, learn how to sell it, try and talk about it. And then like, you've been working on selling yourself in the resilient life. I feel like these 5 things: manage money, prevent stress, generate confidence, refresh their relationships, and find their direction. I think those are things that CEOs for sure need.
Yeah. I think,
And they can use business money to pay for you. They can just give you their W-9. You can give them your W-9, and they can just put it on their taxes for 2024.
Yeah. Okay.
Don't you like if they're all solopreneurs, they all have business money to spend. Does that feel better to you to sell them into Resilient Life?
Yeah, from that approach, I think it does. But then also, like, I'm thinking about, oh, 1 hour consults for the, like the credit and the, the debt collections and stuff like that. But then I'm thinking even too, Resilient Life could cover that as well. Because
Yes,
it's being
you're
resilient
seeing
in
it.
finances.
Exactly. And then you have 6 months to help them in their business.
Huh. Okay.
Don't you
Yeah.
feel like you would get more traction with them in their business if you got to work with them for 6 months?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Like, I think this is already an offer you have. You've got the emails for it. You've got the program. You know how to sell Resilient Life. How does it feel? How do you want to feel as you're like selling on this thing tomorrow to bring
Um,
those people in?
yeah, I mean, it's just the confidence. It's knowing, like, I know the end result when people go through it.
And as a CEO, there's never been a better time to invest in their business like this.
Mm-hmm.
So I want you to sell yourself on this tonight. Let's sign 10 of them in, and then we can add on more stuff in the future if we
Yeah.
want. And Sharon said, a confused mind says no. And she was like, Resilient Life is really, really valuable for these CEOs.
Mm-hmm.
So let's bring them the value. Let's bring this for them. It's going to be so, so good. I really do think that. And then once we sell these 10 people into Resilient Life, that's $65,000. 65.
Mm-hmm.
It's like awesome. So then you can use that capital to then we can do the smaller ticket offers too.
Yeah. Okay.
Just for because I think that like literally you came on the consult and you were like, I want to be a life coach. I want to do Resilient Life. I really feel like this is my purpose. And I really think that like it's such a good program. You've got so much to tell them. There's so much that these entrepreneurs need to know. And I feel like this could be the way to do it.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. I love you. My client has been hanging out in the waiting group.
Oh
But I
no.
love you
Okay,
guys
thank
so,
you.
so much. This was so valuable. Stay focused, and I will definitely see you guys next Tuesday. Okay.
Thank you.
All right. I love you guys. Bye.